The email arrived on a Wednesday morning, while Jordan was asleep on my couch with a half-eaten bowl of cereal balanced on the armrest and her laptop open to a coaching strategy video she'd fallen asleep watching. I read it 3 times before it fully landed. Meridian Studio, one of the most respected brand identity firms in the country, based in San Francisco. They were expanding their freelance roster for a major campaign, a women's athletics nonprofit going national. The brief was exactly in my lane. Bold, values-driven, physically expressive design. The kind of work I'd spent 2 years quietly hoping someone would ask me to do. The project kickoff weekend, the same Saturday as the championship game. I set my phone face down on the counter, picked it up, read it again. Jordan shifted on the couch, cereal bowl tilting dangerously. I caught it without thinking, set it on the coffee table, and stood there looking at her for a moment. The loose sprawl of her, the way sleep softened everything she usually held carefully in place. I thought about what she'd said, weeks ago on the lookout. The bare minimum I should be doing, and I thought about what Lily had said. Silence isn't a decision you're making. It's a decision happening to you. I went to the kitchen table and opened my laptop. I didn't tell Jordan that day. I spent Thursday trying to figure out what I actually wanted, which was harder than it should have been. 2 years of building a life around professional achievement and solitude had made me very good at knowing what I needed to survive, and considerably worse at knowing what I wanted to reach for. The Meridian project was real, significant, the kind of opportunity that changed trajectories. The championship game was one volleyball match in an amateur league that would be over in 2 hours. On paper, it wasn't a difficult decision, but I kept thinking about the gym, about the specific feeling of a clean spike, the way the whole team had learned to read each other without speaking, the way Jordan watched a good play with that quiet, satisfied expression like she'd just proven something she'd always believed. I kept thinking about Rebecca's voice when we won our 3rd straight game, about Lily watching from the sidelines with her boot and her enormous, ridiculous pride, about what it had felt like to be part of something again. After 2 years of careful, deliberate aloneness. I called Meridian on Friday morning and asked about flexibility on the kickoff date. The answer was professional and apologetic and final. The client timeline didn't allow it. They needed their freelancers available that weekend, starting Saturday morning. So that was that clear choice. Made for me. Except it didn't feel made. It felt deferred. Jordan came over Friday evening and knew immediately that something was off. She didn't push. She just settled onto the couch with her laptop and let me work in silence for 20 minutes, respecting the experiment we'd built, and then said quietly, "Whatever it is, you don't have to tell me if you're not ready." "It's a job," I said, still looking at my screen. "Big one. Meridian Studio." A pause. "That's the San Francisco firm." "Yeah." I turned to face her. "The kickoff is Saturday, championship Saturday." Jordan's expression didn't change, not right away. She set her laptop aside with the slow, deliberate care of someone who is choosing their next words very precisely. "Okay," she said. "That's all? What else should I say?" I stared at her. "Jordan, the championship is one game." She held my gaze steadily. "Maya, we're an amateur league. We're not playing for scholarships or contracts or anything real. Meridian Studio is your career." A beat. "You should take it." Something in my chest shifted uncomfortably. "You don't mean that." "Why wouldn't I mean it?" "Because you've spent 3 months building this team. Because you care about this game more than you're pretending to right now." I stood up from the counter, unable to hold still. "You're doing that thing where you decide what I need and arrange yourself around it without telling me you had a preference." Jordan opened her mouth, closed it. The coaching mask slipped. "Okay," she said. "Honestly, I won you there Saturday. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. You're the strongest player we have, and the team plays differently when you're in the rotation, and yes, I want to win this." She paused. "But wanting you there and thinking you should choose it are 2 different things, and it's not my place to tell you which version of your life to prioritize. What if I want you to tell me? That's not how this works. Jordan, Maya." Her voice was gentler now, but firm. "You've spent 2 years building something, piece by piece, clients, portfolio, a career that you chose for yourself after." She stopped, edited herself. "I'm not going to be the thing that costs you an opportunity because of a volleyball game, even one I care about." She met my eyes. "Take the project." The apartment was very quiet. I already tried to negotiate the date, I said. Jordan blinked. What? I called them Thursday. Asked if the kickoff could move. I looked at the counter, not at her. It couldn't. Client's timeline is fixed. Silence. You tried to move a Meridian kickoff, Jordan said slowly, for a community volleyball championship. I wanted to see if it was possible. Maya, don't make it a big thing. It's already a big thing. There was something in her voice I couldn't quite name. Not quite amazement, not quite emotion, somewhere in between. You tried to negotiate a major professional opportunity because of a Saturday game. I wanted to have both. I wasn't doing it for noble reasons. I just didn't want to choose. Jordan was quiet for a moment. Then she said, very carefully, "Can I tell you what I think you should do? Please, call them back. Accept the project. Go to San Francisco, play the championship later. There's always another season." She leaned forward. "And then when you come back, we figure out the rest, because the rest is worth figuring out. But not if you make yourself smaller to do it." Something I'd been holding for weeks finally released. "I don't want to miss it," I said, quietly, honestly. "I've been on that team for 6 weeks, and I didn't expect to care about it, and now I care about it, and I don't want to miss the championship. I know, and I don't want to miss you." The words came out before I'd cleared them. I don't know how to be in 2 places. I've never been good at wanting multiple things at once. Jordan crossed the room in 3 steps, sat beside me on the counter stool, close, but not touching. "So, let's figure it out, not choose. Figure it out. The kickoff is Saturday morning," I said, 9 a.m. "The game is 2 p.m. Jordan stared at me. "San Francisco is an hour's flight." "I know, Maya. I already looked at flights." The silence lasted exactly 4 seconds. Then Jordan laughed, a real laugh, surprised and warm, the kind that started somewhere deep and arrived without planning. "You already looked at flights," she repeated. "There's a 6 a.m. out of Denver, gets in at 7:15 Pacific. That's plenty of time for a morning kickoff. The return flight leaves at 11:45. I'd land in Denver at 2:30, and if traffic is normal, I'd be at the gym by... You'd miss the first half. I'd make the second." Jordan shook her head slowly, but she was still smiling, and the quality of that smile, the way it reached all the way to her eyes, the way it looked like relief, made something warm settle in my chest. "You could just take the project and watch us lose on someone's Instagram story," she said. "I could. But you're going to fly back in time for the second half, if traffic cooperates. Traffic on 36 on a Saturday afternoon. I'm an optimist." Jordan looked at me for a long moment. Really looked, the way she had on that mountain lookout, reading something written underneath the surface. Then she reached over and put her hand over mine on the counter. "Okay," she said, "just that. Okay." The Meridian kickoff was everything I'd hoped for, and nothing like I'd imagined. 12 freelancers in a room with a client team that actually understood design, that had opinions and vision and real questions. We spent 3 hours on brand strategy, and I barely noticed time passing. At 11:30, I packed up my laptop, shook hands with the creative director, explained I had a family commitment in Colorado, and caught a cab to SFO with 15 minutes to spare. The flight felt very long. I landed at 2:47. Texted Jordan, "In the air, landing soon." She'd been sending me score updates since noon, a habit she'd apparently decided didn't violate the experiment's spirit, which I agreed with. Last update, second set, we're down 18-22. Could use a blocker, just saying. I was in a rideshare doing genuinely inadvisable speeds on US 36 when the next text came. "Rebecca just set the most beautiful bowl I have ever seen in my life. We're at 23-22. Where are you?" I asked the driver if he could go faster. He said he was already at the limit. I told him there was $20 extra in it for him if we made it by 3:15. He did not slow down. I heard the gym before I saw it. The parking lot was half full, and from outside, I could hear the unmistakable sounds of a close game in its final moments. The sharp rhythm of a score being contested, shoes on court, someone's voice breaking into something between a cheer and a scream. I pushed through the gym doors at 3:08. The score was tied. Final set. Our side of the net, Rebecca diving for a dig, Katie in perfect position at the net, Priya setting up for approach. and Jordan, standing at the edge of the court, clipboard gone, hands loose at her sides, so focused on the play that she hadn't registered the door opening. Then Rebecca saw me. Her face did something complicated and delighted. She pointed, just once. A quick jab of her finger, and Jordan's eyes followed the gesture. She found me across the gym. Whatever she'd been about to say to the team, she didn't say. Just looked at me for one held moment, and something in her expression moved through surprise into something else entirely, something she didn't try to conceal. "You made it," she said, quiet enough that only I could hear. Traffic cooperated. I dropped my bag against the wall. "What do you need?" "Middle blocker," she said immediately. "Go." I barely had time to change my shoes. We won. Not easily. Nothing about it was easy. We traded points until 24-24, and my hands were shaking on the last two plays, and Rebecca's dive in the final rally was something that would probably live in amateur volleyball legend for at least 3 weeks. But we won. The celebration was immediate and loud and slightly chaotic. Katie covered her face. Priya screamed. Rebecca grabbed me and lifted me off the ground for the second time this season, which suggested she'd been waiting for an excuse. I was laughing, genuinely, without thinking about it, the way you only laugh when you've forgotten to be careful. When the chaos settled slightly, Jordan was standing at the edge of it all, not in the middle, which surprised me, just at the perimeter, watching the team with that quiet, satisfied expression. Letting it be theirs, I walked over. "You flew back for the second half," she said. "I told you I would." "You missed the first set. I saw your updates." I stood beside her, watching Rebecca dramatically retell the final rally to 3 people who'd been right there. "We won." "We won," Jordan agreed. She was quiet for a moment. "How was the kickoff?" "Really good. They're a good team, good project." I glanced at her. "I'm glad I went, and I'm glad I came back." Jordan looked at me sideways. "You know, most people would just pick one thing, the professional opportunity or the game. They wouldn't do both in the same day with a connecting flight and optimism about Denver traffic. I'm learning from someone who doesn't give up on things easily." Something in her expression softened. The gym was still loud around us, teammates drifting toward the parking lot in laughing clusters, the opposing team packing up with good-natured exhaustion, the fluorescent lights humming overhead the way they always did. "Jordan," I said, "I need to tell you something." She turned to face me fully. "I forgive you." The words settled into the air between us, not dramatic, not weighted with performance, just true. Not because you deserve it as a transaction, not because you've been coaching me well or texting me memes or learning to sit quietly in my apartment. I met her eyes. Because I've been carrying it for 2 years, and I'm tired, and you're not that person anymore. And I don't want to keep treating you like you are. Jordan was very still. "Maya, I'm not saying it's resolved. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm saying I'm choosing to put it down. That's different." She exhaled slowly. "Thank you." Then carefully, "Can I say something now?" "Sure." "I'm in love with you." She said it plainly, without preamble. The same direct, unhedged honesty she'd been offering me since the beginning, the quality I'd resisted and needed in equal measure. "I know the timing is terrible. I know we have a lifestyle gap the size of Colorado. I know I have a lot left to prove. But I figured if you could fly back from San Francisco for a volleyball game, I could stop pretending I don't know what I feel." The gym was emptying around us, voices fading toward the parking lot, the overhead lights humming. "You have terrible timing," I said. "I've been told." "We're in an empty gym, I know. And you're still my coach, technically." "Season ends today." A small, careful smile. "As of approximately 40 minutes ago, I'm just someone who's in love with you." The last of the team filtered out. Rebecca gave me a look on her way through the door that communicated, wordlessly, that she'd known this was coming for weeks and was not surprised at all. The gym went quiet. Just the hum of the lights, the distant sound of a car in the parking lot, the faint echo of all the afternoons this space had held. I looked at Jordan, at the woman who had broken something in me once, who hadn't even known she'd done it, who had spent 3 months patiently, stubbornly, carefully rebuilding it, who had learned to sit in silence for me, who had told me to take the project, to be bigger, to not make myself small. "I'm not there yet," I said. "The love part. I think I'm getting there, but I'm not. I need more time." "Okay." "You're not going to push?" "No." She said it without hesitation. You'll get there when you get there. Or you won't. Either way, I'm not going anywhere. She paused. Unless you want me to go somewhere. In which case, I'll go somewhere, but I'll still be...
Okay.
Jordan? Yeah?
Okay.
Stop talking. She stopped. I reached over and took her hand. Just that, her hand in mine, in the quiet of an empty gym, the score still up on the board behind us. She looked down at our hands, then back at my face. The expression she wore was something I didn't have a word for. Not relief, not triumph. Something quieter than both. Like someone who had been walking toward a light for a very long time and had finally arrived close enough to feel warm. Okay, she asked. Okay, I said. We stood there for a while, not needing it to be anything else yet. The lights hummed. Outside Boulder was doing its golden hour thing, the flat irons lit up orange and pink against the early dark. I thought about the girl who'd left this city 2 years ago, small and ashamed and certain she'd been right to keep herself safe. She would not recognize this moment. Would not recognize the gym, or the hand in hers, or the feeling of standing in the place that had hurt her and finding that it had become, without her entirely meaning to let it, something closer to home. 2 weeks later, I redesigned the team's logo. Jordan hadn't asked me to. I just found myself doing it one evening while she was asleep on my couch, same position, cereal bowl, issue ongoing and unresolved. The old logo had been a clip art volleyball with the team name in a font from 2009. I gave it clean lines, a strong geometric shape. The navy and gold she'd chosen for the uniforms, used deliberately. The typography I'd been thinking about for weeks, bold without being aggressive, confident without being cold. And in the negative space of the main mark, barely visible, the kind of thing you'd only see if you looked twice, a small detail, the rough outline of a mountain viewpoint, a lookout. I showed Jordan when she woke up. She stared at it for a long moment, then she looked at me with that expression I still didn't have a word for, the warm, specific one that she only aimed at me. The mountain, she said softly, just in case you forgot where it started. She shook her head slowly. I'm not going to forget. She didn't ask what it meant or if I was sure, or whether this was too much. She just looked at the logo for a little longer, and then at me, and then she smiled. Outside, Boulder was cold and clear and exactly itself. The flat irons caught the late light. Somewhere across town, Rebecca was probably already texting the team about next season. Inside, Jordan was warm beside me on the couch, and my sketchbook was open on the coffee table, and the apartment was quiet in exactly the right way. Not the quiet of isolation, not the quiet of a life made deliberately small, the quiet of two people who'd learned, slowly and imperfectly and at significant cost, to share the same silence without either one disappearing into it. That was enough. That was, actually, everything.